Hi, my name is Hillary Walsh. I'm an immigration lawyer in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm going to talk to you today on behalf of my firm, New Frontier Immigration Law, all about pardon waivers. I'm going to kind of step out of this so I can educate you because it's a really complicated area of the law, but we increasingly get more and more people who really need help with this form of relief, okay? So here's the deal. If you have a U.S. citizen, if you've been unlawfully present, let's see if I can maneuver this, okay? If you've been unlawfully present in the United States or in some type of document that you submitted to the government previously, you made a material misrepresentation or you committed some type of fraud in some type of immigration related matter, then you may need what's called a pardon waiver, okay? So the way that we can do a pardon waiver is a lot of times, I'm going to teach in examples today because I think that's the most helpful way of seeing it applied rather than talking about it kind of in an abstract sense. If you came to this country, maybe your parents brought you, maybe you came when you were a teenager and you didn't have permission, and you've since married a U.S. citizen, okay? So let's go with, we have a U.S. citizen spouse. You are eligible for a pardon waiver, but you need one because you are unlawfully here in the United States. That's fine, we can fix it. We just have to show that you qualify for a pardon waiver, okay? So that you can leave the country and process, go to the consulate and process in your home country. Another example, if you need a fraud waiver, is if, for example, you applied for a visa to come to this country and you had someone fill it out for you, okay? It's in English and your native language is not English, and you hired someone to fill it out for you and they did it incorrectly. In some situations, I've seen this happen where the person filling it out incorrectly marks that the person who's applying, you, was not married when you were, or perhaps that you didn't have children when you do, okay? And the US government can see this as you trying to be sneaky and create a fraud or otherwise misrepresent something to the United States government in the hope that you are able to get that visa because you perhaps thought that you wouldn't get it otherwise. Most of the time that I see this happen, it's because there was an error by the person who was completing the document, either intentional or unintentional, and in my opinion, you don't need to do this because you yourself did not make the fraud or misrepresentation. Unfortunately, even if you didn't, a lot of times the government will say, look, you signed the document saying that the things that were said in this application are true, and therefore you, whether you intentionally did it or not, you have committed a fraud or misrepresentation, and therefore you need a waiver. So let's talk about those two situations within the context of how do we actually move forward. Let's pretend you need a waiver or you know someone who needs a waiver. How can we move forward and actually get it, okay? So the first thing is you have to have what's called a qualifying relative, okay? The pardon is for you yourself, but it's basically saying if you don't let me stay or if you don't let me come back, if you make me stay out of the country for 10 years or more, then it's going to cause me a significant hardship. It's going to cause my family member an extreme hardship. And the family member has to be a certain person, okay? So it's important for purposes of immigration. A lot of times we see that you need a spouse, a child, or a parent. But what's important for hardship waivers? Children are not considered, if they have a hardship because you're not able to come back, they're not a qualifying relative, even though a lot of times the child is the person who's put most at risk and harmed the most. The logic behind this is if you come to the United States and you have a U.S. citizen child, Congress has basically created this to prevent what is totally a myth of what's an anchor baby. So like if you have your baby here in the United States, you being able to leave and obtain status here can't be based on that child. Being able to come back can't be based on that child. It can, however, see if I can organize this correctly. It can, however, be if your spouse is a lawful permanent resident, or if your spouse is a U.S. citizen, or your parent is a lawful permanent resident or a citizen, okay? So through this, so that's kind of the first thing. We have to have the relationship with the family member who's a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen in order to get that waiver. Next, and this is I'm gonna really Vanna White you here, okay? If I can hold this correctly. There we go. The different ways of showing hardship are going to be through the safety in the home country. So right now, Mexico is known to be a pretty dangerous place because of cartels, because of everything going on. The same is true in a lot of Central America and in some of South America as well. Okay, so the risk that you will face if your family member, your qualifying family member, either has to come with you, or if you are sent there and somehow harmed, that plays into the safety factor. The same is true for money and education. What I always ask clients is, okay, so let's say that your parents, can they survive if you are supporting them financially? Lucy, I see your question. Hi. If you have a U.S. citizen parent and you support them financially here in the United States, what's your income going to be if you were removed and not allowed to stay? Will you continue to be able to support them? Is your removal going to cause them extreme hardship? And a lot of times, I mean, I would say 100% of my clients who I do waivers for, they help their parents financially. Their parents are U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, and they've all been here since the 80s, and the parents are now, in their 60s and 70s, and the child, who's an adult, probably close to my age, is helping financially support them. So if you remove this money from the parent, how's the parent going to survive? How's the parent going to pay for their medical expenses? Okay, these are all like, what if the spouse doesn't speak the language? Are they going to be able to work? Are they going to be able to get education? Are they going to be able to access the healthcare system? Does the healthcare system there provide for people who don't have status there or otherwise, not a citizen? So these are ways that we can help people sort through the very complicated waiver process, and we craft a legal argument that is very persuasive to show the true dynamic that's going on, not just on an emotional level, because the separation would be very painful even if it were just emotional, but instead on a very human level. Because although, I'm a lawyer and I work with the law, the most important thing that I work with is humans and their family and their desire to stay together. My belief is that you belong here. You belong here with your family. You belong here where you can work in a country that you love. And we're going to do everything we can to help you make that happen. And this is within the context of a waiver, but we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. Okay? Lucy, I'm going to turn to your question now. If a Ninth Circuit appeal is submitted, can immigration still come and deport the person? Can they remain here pending the appeal? Great question. So the first step in asking for a circuit court, so I'm going to draw this out because it gets kind of complicated, and I've already got the board here. So Lucy, I'm going to draw out kind of the different appeals processes because each one has its own rules for when you have a stay. A stay basically means push pause, don't remove me. So in immigration court, as soon as you're put into immigration proceedings, you get a stay because they're deciding whether you're removable or not, okay? And then you appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals. And then you appeal to the circuit court. My handwriting's getting sloppier. Okay, here we go. Immigration court, this is the very beginning and the entry level to the court system, okay? You get an automatic stay. No one will try to remove you while you are in immigration court proceedings, okay? After the judge says yes or no, let's pretend the judge says no because that's how we get here, okay? So the immigration judge says, no, you need to be removed. You have the right to appeal this. You have to file the appeal within 30 days of the judge's decision, okay? So let's say it's May 1st. You have 30 days from May 1st, and I always use this online calculator to calculate days because, they're different. It's not months, it's days, okay? So 30 days, you file with the Board of Immigration Appeals. You get a stay when your case is pending with the Board of Immigration Appeals. You don't have to ask for it. It's an automatic stay. Okay? Then, as soon as the Board of Immigration Appeals says no, you have no stay in place. Your stay is gone. You are immediately eligible to be removed, even though you have a 30-day window with which to file your circuit court appeal. Okay? Here in Arizona, we're in what's called the Ninth Circuit. Okay? Sorry if that's kind of messy. We're in the Ninth Circuit. So that's what Lucy's asking about. And no, you have to ask for a stay. The very first thing after this, you file a petition for review. You do that within 30 days of the Board of Immigration Appeals decision. They open the case and I immediately file for a stay. You get an automatic stay in the Ninth Circuit for 14 days. That gives you time to file and actually ask for one. So as soon as that's filed, this petition for review, this basically says, I'm holding my hand up and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to appeal this. As soon as you file that, you automatically get 14 days that you're okay. We're going to give you this window of time to request a stay. And then the court will decide whether or not to grant you a stay. In the Ninth Circuit, in all of my days and all of my years of doing this, I've never had the Ninth Circuit deny a stay for someone who's not detained. I've only ever had the Ninth Circuit deny one stay for someone who was detained, and it wasn't my case anymore. It's a prior client. So he was deported while his Ninth Circuit case is ongoing. Okay? So the odds of getting a stay in the Ninth Circuit if you're not detained, in my experience, are very good. So you would stay here for the time frame that it takes in order for the court to decide your actual appeal, which comes after you file your stay. The stay says push pause, don't deport me. The appeal says this guy and this guy, or this gal and this guy and this, these judges got it wrong. Okay? This process, when you're on appeal with the Ninth Circuit, can take upwards of 2 years, if not more. I have one client who I started representing him when we were stationed in Korea. His case, I think it started in 2015. It's been 5 years that case has been going on. Granted, we won a remand. It went to the Board of Immigration Appeals, and it went back to the Ninth Circuit. But that just gives you an idea. I mean, this young man has been in the United States for 5 years, and then, he's been working this whole time, and obviously he has a case pending. So he's had an additional 5 years simply because he decided to go this route and go with this option, and it bought him that much time. Okay? So there's no guarantee that the government that the court will grant the stay. But when you're not detained, it's pretty normal for the court to say, no, you're not going to get deported right now. You can stay and fight your case. It's because the government isn't paying for someone to be detained while that's going on. So I hope that's helpful, Lucy. I know that you and I spoke earlier today, and I'm really feeling for your family right now. And I hope you all have a great day. We're here for you. We're an immigration firm that believes that there is a solution to every problem. It's just a matter of how hard do you want to fight to find that problem? How hard do you want to say, the judges are getting it wrong? I want you to know that all these judges, there are wonderful immigration judges. So this isn't to say anything bad about those judges. What I'm going to say is just fact. They all work for William Barr, the Attorney General. And the Attorney General is hand-picked by President Trump. President Trump has specifically talked in open meetings about how he wants specific immigrants to go back to shithole countries. That's not my words, that's the president's. He is not someone who's friendly toward immigrants from all countries. He's friendly toward immigrants from very specific European countries. So, if you want to fight and push back because your family deserves someone to stand in the ring for you, alongside you, to say that what's happening to me is unfair, I'm not going to give up, then we're the right law firm for you. New Frontier Immigration Law is a firm that's doing things differently for people who need it. We love you, and we hope you have a great day. We'll see you soon.